The NFC West sent two teams to the playoffs in 2023, with one of them going to the Super Bowl in the San Francisco 49ers. The other team they sent to the playoffs was the Rams, of course, who lost in the wildcard round by a single point to the Detroit Lions. Despite the Seahawks' struggles throughout the 2023 season, like when they played the defending conference champion 49ers for example, they still finished with a 9-8 record and improved in a big way this offseason by bringing in guys like Byron Murphy and Christian Haynes through the draft. Unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals were dealt a tough hand to start the 2023 season, as they were without their franchise quarterback in Kyler Murray for the first 9 games of the year, but won 3 of their final 8 games with him as their starter, and are without a doubt one of the most improved teams heading into the 2024 season. This division, really outside of San Francisco, doesn't get discussed a whole lot by the national media, but they are without a doubt one of the best divisions in football. And in today's video, we're going to break down why they are one of the best divisions and why they will be so fun to watch this year. Now let's begin. We are starting today's video with the Arizona Cardinals. The best way to summarize the Cardinals' 2023 season is by splitting it into 2 halves. The half without Kyler Murray and the half with Kyler Murray. Without Kyler, they had a combination of Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune start games for them, and it went about as well as you'd expect. There were some flashes with Dobbs, most notably the Cowboys game, but more often than not, it wasn't pretty. Now, Kyler Murray was not a magician or a video game-like player where as soon as he came back, poof, everything was better and the Cardinals went undefeated. But when you factor in Kyler's ability to play the quarterback position, along with the improvements Arizona made this offseason, well, simply put, I am a big believer in what Jonathan Gannon and what Monty Ozenfort are building. Just being completely honest, I think the Cardinals will finish 3rd or 4th in the NFC West this year, but for 2024 specifically, that's fine because this rebuild was never going to be an overnight fix. Jonathan Gannon took this job knowing his quarterback was going to be out for quite a bit during his first year as a coach, and he embraced it, and basically said, look, we're going to fight to the end with what we have, and we can surprise some people with how competitive we are. And in some ways, this reminds me of when Dan Campbell took the Lions job back in 2021. In some ways, not every way to be clear. Now, I have my concerns with this team defensively as they finished 31st in points allowed per game this past year, and I do think this will be a big work in progress throughout the 24 season, but the Cardinals spent 4 picks in the top 104 on defensive players. They didn't just have 4 picks in the top 104, by the way. They spent 4 of their top 8 picks in the 104 on defensive players, and they are clearly trying to get better on the defensive side of the football. The one thing that I will say about the 2023 Cardinals that I don't really hold Jonathan Gannon to, despite being a defensive-minded head coach, is they didn't have a lot of talent on this side of the ball last year. So despite him being a defensive-minded coach and a guy who, in theory, should improve the defense, well, he didn't have a whole lot to work with, and the Cardinals couldn't get off the field either. Opposing offenses had an average drive length of 6.2 plays, which ranked 28th for Arizona's defense, and opposing offenses also averaged 34.5 yards per drive, which ranked 30th for Arizona's defense. They couldn't get off the field, and they couldn't create turnovers either, as they forced just 17 turnovers all year. They had 3 games where they forced 3 turnovers, meaning there were 14 games where they created 1 turnover or less, and you're not going to win many games like that, and they didn't. But Arizona also placed a huge emphasis on running the football this offseason, and by doing that, they're going to look to control the tempo offensively and be the bullies rather than the ones being bullied. And we even saw glimpses of that near the end of the 23 season. From a win projection standpoint, I think Arizona will finish with anywhere from 6 to 8 wins, but I think they'll be in nearly every game, and I think they will be a true thorn in a lot of teams' sides. Now, whenever I go to the gym, I always make sure to have my headphones with me, as there is almost nothing worse than listening to the gym music, and aside from my headphones being a gym essential, so is the Fitbod app. Whether you are a seasoned gym goer or a newbie, the Fitbod app will help you push to make progress. I recently did a back and buy workout and planned it out the night before, so when I got to the gym the next morning, everything was right in front of me. What I specifically liked about the Fitbod app was I didn't have to recall a wide grip curl or an incline curl or search my brain for whatever type of curls I wanted to do when every variation of a bicep curl was right there. Now, some could say that I could use some more work on the biceps. I would agree with that statement, by the way, but what I specifically liked about the Fitbod app was how easy the app was to use when planning my next workout out. Fitbod adapts as you improve, so each workout will be more challenging as you progress, and you can get 25% off your subscription or try the app free at fitbod.me/analysis. Once again, that's fitbod.me/analysis. And a big thank you to Fitbod for sponsoring today's video. Next up is the Seattle Seahawks, and I think the Seahawks are a bit of an underrated team heading into the 24 season. I don't think anybody is bringing up that this is a team that just went 9-8 and narrowly missed the playoffs, and improved this offseason and probably brought in 2 future starters from their 2024 draft class. And I get it, I mean, you're in a division with the receiver who just broke multiple rookie receiving records, and a team that just went to the Super Bowl. But for as up and down as 2023 was for Seattle, and especially when they played the elite teams like the 49ers and Ravens, I am a believer in what they're doing, and I think they will be a good team in the long run. Contrary to what the consensus may be, you don't rebuild an entire roster in one offseason, and obviously teams like the Texans are outliers rather than the standard, but when you look at Seattle's roster, truly what was their weakness entering the 24 offseason? They have a solid quarterback in Geno Smith, they have 2 viable options at running back in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, and they have good receivers in DK, JSN, and Tyler Lockett. Sure, these guys aren't amongst the best in the league at what they do, but they're solid options. The main concern I have with this team is along the defensive line, which they addressed by bringing in the reigning Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year in Byron Murphy. Part of Seattle's problem in 2023, aside from the obvious woes in the run defense, was they couldn't stop anybody consistently. They had just 6 games last year where they allowed less than 20 points, and in theory, those should have all been wins because the defense more than did its job. But Seattle went just 4-2 in these games, which obviously isn't bad, but that was the difference between being 9-8 and 11-6, and those 5 points, which was the combined amount Seattle lost by in those games, make a huge difference for where they currently are perceived. Now, I do think Mike Macdonald will prove to be a great hire for the Seahawks, and that he will be a good head coach for them in the long run, and I even think Seattle will start out 2-0 during the Macdonald era, as their first 2 games are home against Denver and at New England, which would set up a very interesting game against the Dolphins in Week 3. Seattle also finished 17th in points per game offensively last year, which I do think is disappointing relative to the talent they have, and I hope to see that improve this year too, which is a unit led by former Washington Huskies offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb. With the running back duo in Walker and Charbonnet, along with the aforementioned trio at receiver, I think Seattle has the potential to be a top 10 or 12 offense in the NFL. And as long as their defense isn't abysmal like they were at times throughout the 23 season, Seattle is going to be competing for a playoff spot. It is worth noting they play the Rams in Week 18 at SoFi Stadium, and if the Packers and Lions make the playoffs from the North, and if Dallas and Philly make it from the East, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Seattle is playing the LA Rams in the final week of the year for a trip to the postseason. To LA to discuss the Rams, and the 2024 Rams are going to be one of the more interesting teams to watch in the NFL for a few reasons. First, it's going to be interesting to see how they replace Aaron Donald and to see just how much of an impact he made on a play-by-play basis. We know they have 2023 third-rounder Kobe Turner, who had a great rookie year, by the way, and that they traded up to get Braden Fisk in the 2024 draft, but replacing one of the best defensive players of all time is not going to be an easy task. They also drafted Jared Verse in the first round, who is good both against the run and the pass, and it's going to be very interesting to see how LA replaces number 99, especially early on. Now, the Rams, like everyone, have difficult games during the 2024 season, but the Rams' schedule to start the 2024 season is particularly brutal. They start the year in Detroit on Sunday night, then go to Arizona in Week 2, then play home against the 49ers in Week 3, then go to Chicago in Week 4. Now, do I think they're going to start 1-3? No, as I think they'll win at least 2 of those games one way or another, but a 1-3 start is not unrealistic for the Rams, and like they did last year, as they started out 3-6, then won 7 of their final 8 games to finish 10-7, and ultimately make the playoffs, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Rams start out slow this year, and if they stumble out of the gate, or seemingly stumble out of the gate, because of how hard that start to their schedule is. Now, one thing I am excited to watch with the 2024 Rams, even despite a potential slow start, is a true great receiving duo between Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Cooper was injured to start the 2023 regular season, and his debut came in Week 5 against the Eagles. He had over 110 yards in that game, and even had over 110 yards the following week against the Cardinals. He would go on to play 10 games the rest of the 2023 season, and would have just 2 100-yard games during that span. Now, we all know the type of rookie year Puka Nacua had in 2023. 105 receptions, 1,400 plus yards, rookie records left and right. But we never really got to see a great duo of Cooper Kupp and Puka, as Cooper would go on to have just 700 yards for the rest of the 2023 season. And that's one thing I am looking forward to seeing in 2024, is not only Cooper Kupp and Puka playing together, but also a running back duo of Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. And when you think about it, combined with the Rams' offensive line, which is one of the more underrated offensive lines in the league, led by guard Kevin Dotson, the Rams' 2024 offense is going to be one of the best in all of football. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they finish top 5 or 6 in points per game, if most of the players on the offense stay healthy for the 2024 season. The Rams are going to be a nightmare to game plan against, because if you try and take away the run, whether it's with Kyren or a Kyren Williams clone in Blake Corum, then guess what? They can hit you with a wide receiver duo in a former Triple Crown winner in Cooper Kupp, or a player who just set multiple rookie records in Puka Nacua. The Rams are going to have answers left and right with their offense in 2024, and I think their defense will be more than fine as well. And to be honest, I would be pretty surprised even if they start out 1-4 or 2-3 through 5 games, if the Rams don't win 9 or 10 games and find their way back to the postseason for the second consecutive year. Up Interstate 5, we go to San Francisco to discuss the 49ers. The 49ers finished the 2023 season with a 12-5 record and finished top 3 in points per game and points allowed per game, as they would be on their way to their second Super Bowl appearance in 5 years. And when you look at the 49ers roster, it's pretty easy to buy in with this team and think they can go to another Super Bowl. And despite the Chiefs getting all the love from the media, rightfully so, as they've won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, the 49ers lost by 3 points and took them to overtime in what was a very funky game. San Francisco lost star linebacker Dre Greenlaw during the Super Bowl, and 2022 first-team All-Pro safety Talanoa Hufanga tore his ACL earlier in the year. Now, I have said before that I think 2023 was the 49ers' best chance to win a Super Bowl with this group of guys, and we'll dive into why I think that, but that doesn't mean their roster isn't talented or that they can't win 12 games this year, because they absolutely can. And even if they only win 10 games, and I say only there in quotations, they can still get to the NFC Championship game like they did back in 2021, when they beat Dallas in the wild card round and Green Bay in the divisional round. But why I think 2023 was their best chance was Christian McCaffrey had a 339 total touch season and had 21 total touchdowns, which is phenomenal production, and he won the Offensive Player of the Year award for a reason. But this isn't the early to mid 2010s where 30 years old is the dreaded mark for running backs. No, this is the early to mid 2020s where running backs peak in their rookie contract and they fall off in either year 5 or year 6. Now, Christian is, of course, an exception, as he just had a 2,000 total yard 7th season, but I do think the fall off is coming at some point. Not only that, but Trent Williams is 36 years old, and I have questions along their offensive line, specifically with center Jake Brendel and right tackle Colton McKivitz. Despite those concerns, the 49ers should still be one of the best teams in the league because the talent they have on this roster, combined with a great coaching staff led by Kyle Shanahan, is going to be better than nearly every team they face. They had 4 players in 2023 have over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, and you know the guys, CMC, Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle. So yes, while they are aging, as CMC will be 28 and Kittle will turn 31, they're still going to be a great team, and unless they have a year like they had back in 2020, they will go to the playoffs. They also have a very, very good defense led by Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, and despite Bosa's sack production dipping from 18.5 to just 10.5 from 22 to 23, he actually had more pressures in 2023 than he did in 2022. Offenses truly scheme away from him or double team the hell out of him, which will naturally limit what he's able to do on the stat sheet, and that is also the ultimate sign of respect. If I had to pick a division winner at this point in time, I would go with the 49ers because they not only have great players, well, everywhere, but they very rarely slip up and they know how to win. They had a little 3-game slide during the middle of the year last year and responded with 6 straight wins. All in all, the NFC West is going to be one of the best divisions in football, and I truly can't wait to see how this division plays out. And to be completely honest, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they sent 3 teams to the playoffs this year. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe as it helps the channel tremendously. Thank you to Fitbod for sponsoring today's video, and until next time, be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.